How's it going, everybody? I'm the BTC Reaper. My goal on this channel is to teach you how to reap the rewards of trading when the price is going up or down. Over on Dixie for the daily, we are breaking down below our EMA level. That is our 5 EMA, so we are seeing a break of our EMA band. I would watch for further red candles. That could end up pushing us down below that 101 and possibly toward the golden pocket area. Our stochastic does want to sell off. We do have a orange cross above that blue, so that is a bearish cross that can bring us lower. RSI is starting to pull back as a result. Our VWAP is pushing down that yellow wave. As that yellow wave sells off, momentum, our blue wave, will start to round away, and as that momentum weakens, money flow will continue to deepen in the red, showing that we have more selling pressure than buying pressure. Usually Dixie is inverse of crypto, but remember, soon they may start to be more correlated, so keep that in mind as well. RSI is starting to push down on the 4-hour, stochastic is pushing down, VWAP is favoring bearish, momentum is dropping down, and that money flow does want to break bearish, so I would watch. If this flips into the bearish territory and holds, we likely would see the daily push down, and again, with the inverse relationship, that would be good for crypto, but when they are more related, that would be a bad thing for crypto. That could mean crypto could end up selling off. Right now, it could mean crypto could push forward. Over on Bitcoin dominance for the daily, we are pushing forward, stochastic is pushing up, RSI is pretty flat, so I would watch. That stochastic can't push much higher, RSI can't go much further, but when they are overbought for a long period of time, they do eventually retrace. VWAP is very weak, so watch that very close. If that VWAP makes a break, it's likely we would see a push down in dominance. Remember, that would mean altcoins would do better than Bitcoin. We likely would get altcoin season at some point, so that will likely be true at some point. Over on total for the daily, we are still below that 300 EMA. We do have a little bit of an indecision candle, but we tried to push down, tried to fill near these lower lows that we had back here, and we were unable to fill those lows. That could be positive. This could show that there is some buying pressure. We will have to see if we follow with a strong green candle. If we get a strong green candle and then we start to break that 300 EMA, we could continue further, but if we come back up toward that EMA and reject, then it's likely we would see lower highs with lower lows. RSI does want to pull back, stochastic is pushing forward, VWAP does want to push toward that neutral. I would watch very close. Momentum does want to push down and money flow is bearish. If that VWAP can break bullish, that would help push us further up and help break that EMA. Over on the 4-hour here, we do have lower highs and lower lows. They don't really connect, so this could be a bearish continuation. I would watch. If we are not able to get above that blue EMA, it's likely we would see a lower low, and that could continue to drop us down. So I would exercise caution on that. Watch that EMA closely. Stochastic does want to push up, RSI does want to gain strength, VWAP is bullish, but the wave is weak right now. I would watch if that wave is weaker than this previous wave up here. If it is, we could have a lower high followed by lower lows. That could bring momentum lower, bringing money flow lower, and weakening us overall to set us up for a further loss. And as total does lead our altcoins, that would mean most of the altcoins would sell off. Over on the 2-hour, stochastic does want to push up. RSI is starting to round, VWAP is starting to pull back, momentum does want to break that neutral, but if that VWAP breaks down, we would see momentum round away and money flow would deepen in the red, and we would see those higher time frames weaken. Over on the 1-hour, we are struggling with some EMAs, but we are seeing lower EMAs continue to break above higher EMAs. If this can continue, we may end up on the top of our EMA band. If we see that, we could start flipping EMAs on higher time frames and seeing this bullish trend start to become more a little bit stronger here. We do have a weak VWAP wave here. Our money flow is green though. So if that VWAP can make a bounce, that money flow could remain green. We could remain bullish. That could help push higher time frames up, but we would need that money flow to remain green for several hours. Just because it's green right now doesn't mean we're going to push up right now. Our momentum does want to push up. That VWAP, again, watch if we get higher highs and higher lows from here. If we do and we stay above that neutral, that could help push us up. This could be an inverted shoulder, a head, and a shoulder, which could try to push us up toward that EMA level. Again, watch for a break and a hold. If we get a break and a hold, then we could start to see other time frames start to push forward, again, pushing the rest of our altcoins forward. Over on Bitcoin futures for the daily, we are indecisive. We don't have very much movement here. Our stochastic is starting to drop down. RSI is flat. VWAP is trying to break neutral. Momentum wants to push up. Money flow is starting to weaken, so watch that VWAP close. If it rejects here, we could get a lower high with this lower low. That would create a bearish trend to bring momentum lower, causing money flow to sell off and pushing us down. So I wouldn't get too comfortable. We did break that resistance and we're holding, but I would watch because we could have lower highs with lower lows. With this red candle setting us up and a little bit of a gap to the downside, I would just exercise caution on that filling, just like this one we had back here and this one we had back here. Our stochastic does want to push up. RSI is pretty flat, so I would just watch that stochastic close. VWAP is bullish, that is positive. If that VWAP can sustain above this neutral, we could continue forward. Momentum is pushing up. Money flow is starting to pull back, but that money flow could start to reverse if that VWAP stays bullish. Over on the 2 hour, VWAP is bullish, money flow is crossing green, momentum does want to push up. This could be positive. If this holds, we could start to strengthen higher time frames, but we need that VWAP to gain further higher highs here with higher lows to create that bullish trend to push momentum higher and give money flow strength. Over on the 1 hour, stochastic is starting to round away, RSI is flat. Momentum does want to round. That VWAP is starting to struggle though, so watch that VWAP close. If we break that neutral and we fail to get back above it, it's likely momentum would round away, money flow would remain red, and we would start to sell off, again filling that lower gap we saw in the higher time frame. So I would watch that VWAP very close. It's not very strong. We need a consistent high and a push above this neutral if we're going to stay bullish. And as futures does lead Bitcoin, it's likely Bitcoin may be similar. Bitcoin did bounce off our 300 EMA. That is very positive. We are above that 57K, that psychological support. So we did manage to stay above two support areas. I would just watch those lower time frames. VWAP does want to round away here. Momentum is pushing down. Money flow does want to retrace. Stochastic is trying to push up. RSI is somewhat bullish. But if that VWAP continues to drop away here on lower time frames, we will start to push down. Over on the 4 hour, our stochastic is pushing up. That is positive. RSI is pushing forward. VWAP is gaining strength. Momentum is pushing up. Money flow is bearish, so to watch that VWAP, we need higher highs with higher lows in order to push momentum higher, giving money flow strength. So watch lower time frames for bullish momentum. Over on the 2 hour, we do currently have consistent highs here with a lower low, so I would just exercise caution. If we can't break above and hold this zone that we're in right now, it's likely it could act as a zone of resistance. It is a zone of consolidation in several zones. So if we are not able to break above and hold, it's likely we could push down from here. We do have a little bit of a long upper shadow candle. That could be a hammer candle as well. So watch the next candle closely. If it's red, we could make a rounding top. If it's green, we could see that push up to that 300 EMA. Stochastic does want to push up. RSI is pushing forward. VWAP is starting to pull back. That momentum does want to break bullish, so watch that VWAP. If it can round forward, making a higher low, we could see momentum push up and money flow could remain bullish. Over on our 1 hour, stochastic does want to run up. We do have our blue trying to cross above that orange. It failed before, so don't get too excited. We are pretty overbought, so likely at some point it would retrace, but as long as it stays bullish, we could continue up. RSI is trying to push up, momentum is pushing forward. That VWAP is indecisive, just like our candles, so I would watch that VWAP close. If that VWAP breaks, we're likely going to round away, reject some EMAs, and push down. But if that VWAP can make a bounce here and get consistent highs with higher lows, we would see momentum remain bullish, money flow would become green, and we could strengthen higher time frame. So over on graph for the daily, we do have a rejection of across to our 14,316, so we tried to break and hold above that. We did get rejected. Again, I would exercise caution on that. Stochastic does want to push up. We do have blue above orange. I would watch if we can hold above 30. That would be a bullish hold. Then we can push forward. RSI is bullish, but if that stochastic fails to hold above 30, we would see RSI bring price lower. VWAP is favoring bearish. Momentum is dropping down. Money flow is weakening. So again, just watch the lower time frames here. Over on the 4 hour, we do have lower highs with lower lows. They are not very well connected. So again, that is more of a bearish continuation. So I would exercise caution with that rejection here. If we see further red candles and we can't hold above that blue EMA, it's likely we would break down. VWAP does want to round away. Momentum is rounding. Money flow is starting to go flat. Stochastic is pushing up and RSI is flat. But if that stochastic continues to push up, RSI could help lead price up, and that could help break that resistance. Over on the 2 hours, stochastic is pretty maxed out. RSI is pretty flat. VWAP is bullish. We do have higher highs with higher lows. I would just watch. If that VWAP does break that neutral, momentum could round away and money flow could continue to sell off. However, if that VWAP stays above this neutral here, momentum will continue further up. money flow will start to reverse, and we could see that money flow cross bullish and start to strengthen higher time frames. Over on the 1 hour here, we do have a little bit of a gap to the upside, so that is positive. That could help set us up for a run forward, just like these gaps that we had back here. Our momentum is starting to round away. I would watch as we have a red dot signaling that VWAP does want to reject this neutral. If that VWAP does continue to reject, we would have a slightly lower high with lower lows that could bring that momentum lower, causing money flow to continue to sell off and pushing higher time frames down. So that would leave that gap to fill later. That would be positive because that would give us an area later to come back up to retest. Over on Ankr for the daily, we are trying to break that resistance as well, and we got rejected by a resistance. We do have a dragonfly candle, indecision candle, so I would watch. RSI is flat, stochastic is trying to push up. Again, watch for it to hold above 30 to get bullish momentum and push RSI and price up. VWAP does want to break that neutral. Watch the lower time frames. Momentum is pushing down and money flow is weakening, so very similar to graph. Over on the 4 hour here, we are seeing a little bit of a retracement. We had an indecision candle where we tried to push forward, and then the bears did gain a little control. We are trying to break that support, so watch for a red candle that breaks that support. If we break our support here, it's likely we would see a lower high with another lower low that could try to bring us back down toward that 2020. However, if we see a strong green candle next, we could make a bounce and continue forward, getting a lower high with a higher low. So that could try to create a little bit of a bullish trend after trying to break down and failing to hold. Stochastic does want to push up. RSI is trying to push down. VWAP does want to round. Momentum does want to push up. We do have bullish divergence, so watch for that VWAP to hold above that neutral. If it does, momentum will start to give that money flow strength. Over on our 2 hour, we are seeing a rejection of that resistance area, so I would watch. We do have a gap to the downside. So I would watch for a bounce in that area. If we do not bounce around this 2298, then it's likely we would continue lower toward that 2020. Stochastic does want to push down. RSI is starting to pull back as a result, so I would watch that stochastic close. VWAP is starting to weaken. Momentum did break bullish, but if that VWAP breaks through the neutral and gets a lower low, momentum will round away and money flow will continue to sell off. Over on the 1 hour here, we are starting to struggle with some EMAs. Our stochastic is overall starting to weaken, so I would keep an eye on that as that could bring price action lower. And again, we do have that lower gap to fill. RSI is starting to round away. Momentum does want to drop with a red dot and money flow is breaking down. So I would watch that VWAP close. If that VWAP starts to push down below that neutral here, we would have a rejection of a cross signaled by the green dot. That green dot signals VWAP wanted to break bullish, and then this red dot signals that we want to break bearish. So that's showing we tried to break bullish. We failed to get a higher high or consistent high. Now, if we get a lower low here, we will have a bearish trend to bring momentum lower, that blue wave, and make money flow continue to deepen in the red, weakening higher time frames and causing that further sell-off, again, possibly toward that 2020. Over on XRP for the daily, we did try to break that 54 like we warned, but we did manage to hold. We held that 300 EMA as well. That could be positive depending on how the lower time frames are set up. VWAP did want to break that neutral, but we're starting to round, so I would watch. That could be a lower high here, so I would watch for consistent lows from here. Momentum is dropping down and money flow is weakening. Our stochastic does want to push up, but our RSI is starting to weaken, so I would watch. If that stochastic does not hold above 30, RSI will start to lead price action lower. Over on the 4 hour, we did fail to get above that 300 EMA, so I would exercise caution. That could set us up for lower highs with lower lows that could start a new bearish trend. Stochastic does want to break forward, but it's starting to struggle, so keep an eye on it. RSI does want to push up. VWAP is bullish, but this wave does have a little bit of a weaker bump here, so I would watch. If that wave rolls over, pushes through that neutral, we could see some lower highs with lower lows, bringing momentum lower, causing money flow to reject, and that would weaken our 4 hour and eventually that daily. Over on the 2 hour here, we are seeing a bit of a push forward, but we do have a gap below us, so again, exercise caution. This is a long upper shadow candle. If followed by a red candle, we could see a sell-off here. If followed by a green candle, we could see a push forward, but push forward with a gap below you does set you up to end up breaking down eventually. VWAP does want to pull back, stochastic wants to round, RSI is pulling back, momentum does want to round, and that VWAP is holding bullish, but we have a lower high potentially here. So if that VWAP makes a lower high and lower low from here, we will see momentum reject and money flow would break down. That would weaken those lower time frames and push higher time frames lower. Over on the 1 hour, we are starting to push down, so again, exercise caution. If we don't make a bounce off that gap, we could see some lower lows. Stochastic does want to push up, RSI is pushing forward, momentum does want to push up, VWAP is trying to push forward with a slightly higher low, so if we can get some higher highs here and maintain above this neutral, momentum would remain bullish and money flow could push up. However, if that VWAP does make a lower high with this lower low and we round away here, we could end up seeing momentum break down and money flow could break down. So keep a close eye on that VWAP. It's very indecisive and it's very close to that neutral right now. Over on ALGO for the daily, we did break away from that EMA, that lowest EMA. So again, exercise caution. We tried to break above it, but we did not hold. We did break down toward that 1150 area, so hopefully that does mean we do push forward. But again, watch lower time frames. VWAP does want to round, momentum is pushing down, money flow is trying to break down, so watch that VWAP close. If it continues to round here, momentum will lead money flow lower, and we will see a further push to that 1032. Stochastic does want to push up, and RSI is trying to gain strength, so if Stochastic can remain above 30, we could see RSI lead price up. But again, watch lower time frames for that to happen. Over on the 4 hour, we could have a double bottom here where you have that drop, a rise, a drop, and then we would need to see a rise, and we would need to break that orange EMA. If we can do that, we could push above that 300 EMA and try to break through that 1350. However, if we stall on either of those ranges, I would exercise caution still. Stochastic does want to push up, VWAP is trying to push forward, momentum does want to gain strength, and money flow is bearish, but VWAP can manage to get higher highs or consistent highs like it has right now. With higher lows, momentum could push up and money flow could gain strength. Watch for the lower time frames if they can see that bullish momentum. We do need that to see that leg up to give us that double bottom possibility. Our stochastic does want to round away here. RSI is starting to push down, so watch it close. VWAP does have higher highs with higher lows, so I would watch for that VWAP to round forward, maintain above neutral. If it can, momentum will continue up, and money flow could reverse. That could give us the strength to see that push forward through those EMAs, and that push forward toward that resistance area. Finally, on the 1 hour, we are starting to see a retracement, so I would exercise caution. This could be a slightly lower high here. If we see a lower low and we break that yellow EMA, we could see a slide from here. But if we are able to bounce off this orange EMA and continue forward from here, we could still see that double bottom and see a push forward. Momentum does want to round with the red dot, suggesting that VWAP does want to break bearish, so keep a close eye on that VWAP. If it breaks bearish and holds, momentum will break down, money flow will continue to reject, and higher time frames will continue to weaken. Thank you for watching tonight's video. I appreciate all of you. Have a great night.